Welcome. I'm Caroline Cronson, producer of Works in Process, the performing arts series at the Guggenheim. And we're so glad that you're here tonight for insights with Michael Novak, Artistic Director, Paul Taylor Dance, and Josh Prince, Founding Artistic Director of New York Dance Lab. Moderated by Denise Roberts Hurlin, Founding Director of Dancers Responding to AIDS and a former Paul Taylor dancer. So we're going to get to see a WPA Virtual Commission called Intermission. We created Works in Process Artists Virtual Commissions as a direct response to the current pandemic to support artists financially and creatively during these challenging times. So we're going to start with the video, co-presented by the Kennedy Center. Then Michael and Josh and Denise will talk, and you will get to hear all about it, and then we will end with the video. So after this, you'll be able to access this and all our other works on our social media channels, www.worksinprocess.org. So have a wonderful evening and enjoy.
Well, hello, gentlemen.
Hi, Denise.
Oh, it's so good to see your faces, and it's so wonderful to think of you not only together right now, but just what you've just brought to us. So I first want to let the audience know that you are married, just in case
Yes.
there's anyone out there that doesn't know this, that you are married. When did you get married? What year?
2015. Yes.
2015. All right, happy 5th anniversary coming up. So, but I also want to ask, where are you in the world right now? Are you?
We are in the Garment District in Midtown.
All right.
For most of the past couple months.
So you've been sort of quarantining in New York City then?
Yeah.
In our apartment.
In your apartment.
Yeah.
I am in White Plains in Westchester County, in what the Wet'suwet'en called the land of Coropas, White Plains. So that's where I am. So I first want to just ask, what's the story behind this story, as well as your story behind this story, because obviously there has to be a story here. And of course, what everyone wants to know too, is this your first collaboration? All right, so first tell us about the story.
So we actually when we were first offered the opportunity from Works in Process, we actually had two different ideas. I had mine and Josh had his.
Okay.
And
Guess who's won? Okay.
we were trying to find a way, I think, to create an opportunity to reflect on the industries that we're both in, specifically the spaces within New York City that were shut down. We both we wanted to find a way to have a story that wasn't about us, but it was about the industries that had just closed, and kind of the impact that that had on us as creatives who want artists to thrive.
Yeah, and so we, that's a tall order. So we decided to narrow down the focus to basically the stages on which we've performed, actually.
Okay.
So I mean, we've also narrowed it down to the stages we could walk to from our apartment, but it turned out that we could get to those spaces. I mean, not quite so literally, but a little bit more literal for Michael. But we decided Broadway for me. I've also danced and choreographed for City Center, but we just felt like he'll take City Center and Lincoln Center, and I'll take the Broadway district.
You were on 45th Street, a lot of it, right?
45th, and Schubert Alley.
And Schubert Alley, and then in Duffy Square.
Yeah, and it was important to us that, like Michael said, it was an homage and a kind of a reminder to people that, we call it intermission because it is an intermission. We will be back. We will be back. Spaces together. It was a profound day. I mean, filming it was hard. Yes, it was. First of all,
what time of day did you film?
Noon.
It was around noon.
It was a hot.
Because to me, if you could just talk about that physical space, in the sense that you're in the theater district, you're at Lincoln Center and City Center, and you both are representing the heartbeat of these areas, because there are no tourists, there are no audience, there's no and I found it haunting as well as compelling that it seemed so you guys empty. That I don't want to say isolated or desolate, but it seemed like I almost as if you had said, okay, we're going to do this, but was that the case at all?
No, I mean, I think we had a shot list when we left. We went to Lincoln Center first, and then we worked our way south. And we were in the middle, like all arts institutions, of figuring out what is our summer, what is our fall. And I remember really being motivated to do a lot more movement, frankly. And I got to Lincoln Center and I got emotional. It hit me that just it's something about being in that space and never having been closed off to it. Like you can always go to the plaza, you can always walk around, you can to be separated from the places that, you know.
And that was a challenge for you, Michael. That was a challenge for you, where Josh, that you were, I mean, obviously you weren't going inside the buildings, but Michael, you were even prohibited to going physically up on the space, up on the plaza.
Yeah, I mean, it's barred off. I think, you know, it's a little bit of, you know, as the Schubert Alley shot of all the posters going back through even the scaffolding, you know, I realized all that scaffolding kind of represented to kind of barring of entry into the space. Yeah. And it was empty. I mean, it wasn't difficult to film. I mean, I have not danced in public for a very long time, let's just say. And coming out of retirement, it was interesting to have like one person randomly along the street go, you know? But you know, it really was empty, and it was excellent, and it was not, you know, it would have cost millions and millions of dollars to do that with a Hollywood film, you know.
Well, I mean, clearly this, you know, this commission is important, right? What Works in Process has offered you is really such a gift, and it's a gift, great gift to a lot of artists that we're witnessing over these weeks of this collaboration. But talk a little bit about it during the pandemic. I mean, were you just so aware of that? I mean, obviously you have a mask on, so that is something you've never, moving with a mask on, it obviously has its challenges, but was that something that was really resonating with you, the fact that this was it's, you know, this very unique thing. You were offered this specific thing to create during the pandemic, and it was something you were doing about the pandemic as well, obviously. I mean,
I'd say that our first idea was when Duke approached us about this, I thought we would make something in our apartment together as a couple, a little bit more couple related.
Intimate, more of that kind of.
Yeah. That really was my first instinct, but actually as we started to discuss it more and discuss the state of affairs with our colleagues, and we were able to step outside the building after some time, you know, we realized we really wanted to make it less about us and more about the reflection of the time, just like you're saying. And we felt that very deeply as we were, you know, masked and dancing, you know, in the streets of these establishments.
Yeah.
I mean, you're leaders of your own organizations, so therefore, I think that's a natural impulse that you have to not necessarily go inward, but to go outward and, you know, think about those in your field.
And I think that's one of the reasons why when I got to Lincoln Center, it kind of, I don't think I expected it to hit me as hard. I was just thinking of the artists and the musicians and the crew and the ushers and like all of the teams that work and depend on that space to create and to promote art. And it was just like to see it that quiet, to see the Metropolitan Opera House, it's just these massive buildings for art and just silent. It's just, and where are these artists? How are they making work? How are they finding a way through this distance to keep that creative impulse going, which is why Works in Process and what they launched is so incredible. Like to send this signal, like this is an intermission, but like we can still create, we can still collaborate, keep that flame alive.
And also I would be remiss if I didn't mention that not only was this was our first collaboration, artistic collaboration, hopefully not our last, but our first, and also a chance, because of the gift that Works in Process is giving to artists like us, you know, to collaborate with our friend Mike Scheib on this beautiful music. You know, shout out to Mike, who's, you know, it really was a big part of the inspiration, this music. He had actually weirdly just sent us this composition that he had just made. And at the same time, I think it was right after Duke had mentioned it, maybe right before, actually, now that I think about it. And I thought that this would be a beautiful, beautiful piece. So we asked Mike, if we could use it. And he said yes. So it was really the launch point for
Was he with you during the shoots? Or anything? Okay, so.
Which is also why you never see us together, because I'm filming Michael and Michael is filming me.
Okay, so I was going to say this is your first collaboration, but you're not actually together. But I assumed you were around. Like, yes, obviously the whole piece is a collaborative effort, even if you weren't together, dancing together.
Yeah, and the editing process. I mean, there's a lot of it is in the.
Oh my goodness!
It was fun to get to do a digital, work together like that.
And so, was it just the two of you, or was it enough? Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, just the two of us, and
wow.
Yeah.
We probably collected, like an hour and a half of footage at the end of the day once we had recorded Lincoln Center to 45th, and then I just started going through and I started looking at what worked, what didn't, and you just start that reducing it down. And I was listening to the music actually when we were filming as well.
Okay.
I wanted to get a sense of what the music was telling us to do. And then when we were editing it, I just had it on repeat. And I was just trying to get a sense of where it would line up.
That we also approached it though a little bit in a more modern way. I mean, creating like a modern dance piece. We weren't quite as linear as we knew the piece would end up being when we went to make it. We really allowed ourselves to just feel things, listen to the music, be in the spaces, collect the material, assemble it, in post, so to speak. So it was really a fun, experiment for the two of us, but also a poignant one that, even right now, we just don't know when Broadway will open up again. I had 3 projects going at the time of the shutdown. I was in rehearsals for an off-Broadway musical that came to a close overnight. And, both of our companies, we still don't know when things will completely open up again. So we hope that it would be received with a sense of nostalgia for the arts, period, for theater going to the theater, any theater of any kind, anywhere. We chose the ones that are near and dear to our heart.
I thought too it was a moment for all of us to sort of feel sad. And that's not a negative, and I don't mean that in a negative way, that you offered us that moment where maybe we've been a little afraid to do that because it's so overwhelming. The sense of loss is so overwhelming, but it was a moment for me anyway that I was able to, take it all in and just, breathe about it. And I think the music obviously helped that way as well. So I think your instincts were right to choose who you chose, but I think that it sounds like it was a positive process. It was a fun process. It was good, what I mean? So that's that juxtaposition in a way,
I would say it was healing, actually, in a way, to kind of connect to those spaces, to connect to our industry, to just kind of like, there's so much happening right now, and to kind of like own like that we can't go home to the theater yet, and it's hard, but we're gonna get there. It's just owning that frustration and that sadness and the beauty of like artists to like navigate through anything.
Yeah, and also for the patrons of the arts, for the audiences of the arts, I think we wanted to represent that too. I mean, just, the suggestion of not being able to get in the door, not, just those things, the sense of dancing in the street, so to speak, for our patrons, for our theater goers, they will get through those doors again. And it really was both of those things, Denise. It was both sad and difficult, and also celebratory, and a love letter, to the things, the art forms we love.
Was this your first film, like working in film like this? I mean,
not exactly. But I don't do it much actually. So we really had a similar vision.
I would say, I made my like dancing reel, you know, back when
That's a different thing. This is its own. This is, you were making a piece for film. You were making this for this, not to showcase your.
Yeah.
But I think the Guggenheim too set up a platform where it was like, just, it's carte blanche, whatever you want to do. And so we didn't feel a pressure. We just felt like it would be a fun project.
Yeah.
An interesting project to work on together. And, you know, it was, the biggest challenge was finding the time to do it together, you know, to be like, what day and what hours of the schedule.
What month? When did you film it? What was the?
This was like early May.
Oh, okay. So that then explains a little bit of the desolate.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
We were just able to get outside without feeling.
Right.
Yes. Right now, and that's another thing about creating anything that feels timely. You don't know once it's aired.
Right. That is.
We did take that risk. We were like, this is what we're saying in this moment right now about where we're at. And it's a little time capsule. You know.
So as artists, what do you need right now?
Money. No, what do we need as artists?
As artists,
yes.
What do artists need right now?
Artists, I would say artists they do need support from anywhere they can get it. Government agencies, private donations, public donations, they need support financially to stay alive and to stay afloat. But they also need reassurance that audiences will be there for them on the flip side of this, that audiences aren't going into the digital world and never coming back.
Yeah.
Audiences are coming back to the theater.
I have every faith that there'll be a, get out of the way. There'll be a fight. I mean, really, I
think it's going to be very emotional, actually.
I think it'll be really emotional, and I think it's going to be
this like reopening moment. I think audiences and patrons are going to connect to and not that they weren't respecting the art form before, but I think that intimacy, that energetic connection that audiences can have with live theater, I think it's going to be received differently. And I think knowing that audiences and patrons are like fighting for that moment too, just as much as artists are trying to push through it.
And also the idea of sitting this close to each other in the theater and feeling the energy of an audience laughing and crying and listening, that too is part of the theatrical experience that cannot be replicated.
Oh, it's a communal experience with the artists and with the audience. It's just, well, I can't wait for our intermission to be over, but I am certainly glad that you offered this beautiful moment for us to reflect.
Thank you.
Well, thank you,
and
Denise.
Thank you for all the work you do with festivals and fundraising
keeping the
for
industry going.
DRA. Yeah.
And thank you to Works in Process and Duke and Caroline.
Thank you, Duke and Caroline. Thank you.
It's been a huge gift to the industry.
Yes.
So.
And we are so
Bring us
grateful.
going. Thank you.
All right. And thank you to everyone who's watching us tonight in supporting the process. We appreciate it. Okay. Bye.